Hey everyone, how's it going? So, the third of the Kanto starters, Blastoise, the one I used when I first got Pokemon Blue at 7 years old. Now, among the pre-evolved starters, Squirtle struggled pretty heavily, but Blastoise has a couple tricks up its sleeve that Squirtle really didn't have, so I anticipate this being a little bit easier. Looking at its stats, like all the Kanto starters, they're not exceptional by any means. Blastoise is more of a bulky Pokemon, but it doesn't have terrible speed, and what it has really good is a move pool. Its move pool is exceptional. Blastoise gets access to a ton of really useful moves, including Earthquake, which Squirtle didn't get. So I do think Blastoise will be a lot better. The question is, will it be better than either Charizard or Venusaur? Only one way to find out. Now, obviously, Blastoise is going to have a very easy time versus Brock. We outspeed and we one-shot Geodude with Water Gun, now we're at level 9, and although Onix outspeeds, it goes for Bide, and we one-shot with Water Gun, so we're at level 11, which is pretty good. And Blastoise is not going to have much of a difficult time with any of the other trainers leading to Cerulean City, but there are a couple things I'm going to do. Within Mount Moon, you can get the TM for Mega Punch, and this is going to help us out versus Misty, so I'm going to go out of my way and pick it up. The other thing I'm going to do is battle this Hiker. We have good speed, we'll one-shot all his Pokemon, and we're going to gain one additional level by doing this. Sometimes in speedruns, you gotta take a little bit of time to save a little bit of time, and I actually think we're going to save way more time than it takes to battle this Hiker. And the best place to demonstrate where I think this is going to help is versus Misty. Of course, she leads with Staryu. We're going to go for Mega Punch. It can miss. She uses an X Defend, and so it does survive a second Mega Punch. We knock it out with 51 HP remaining. Starmie goes for X Defend, but the only attacking move it can use is Tackle because Misty has good AI. So we're going to use 2 Tail Whips. Since Mega Punch can miss, it's better if we use it as few times as possible. We're going to have to use it 3 times. And although Starmie takes a little bit of our health, we still have more than enough remaining to knock it out, and that was a pretty easy victory. More importantly, we get the TM for Bubble Beam. We can delete either Bubble or Water Gun. I delete Water Gun since it doesn't really matter, and we can move on to Rival 2. As always, he leads with Pidgeot in no Sand Attack. We outspeed though, and Bubble Beam is a 2-shot. That's pretty good. We one-shot Abra with Mega Punch. We one-shot Rattata with Bubble Beam. Mega Punch is going to be a 2-hit KO for Bulbasaur, but we can also switch to Bubble Beam since it can't miss. Pretty easy, actually. And something else that's kind of awesome is that we have just enough power points for Mega Punch and Bubble Beam that we can make it through this entire section without having to go back to the Pokemon Center. This is something I don't usually bring up in these runs, but does save a little bit of time for Blastoise. And honestly, there's really nothing notable to talk about until we battle the Team Rocket member. Now, the battle itself is actually kind of annoying because Drowsy can put you to sleep. But what is actually interesting... Oh, actually confused me. That's really bad. And it disabled Bubble Beam? Wow. Really annoying this battle is, but that's not actually what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about is that Blastoise can learn Dig. And this is a base 100 power move, even more powerful than Body Slam. Speaking of which, we got Body Slam. And with that, we're going to go battle Rival 3. So we're going to use Mega Punch just out of curiosity. Bubble Beam does do more, but we knock it out. Mega Punch also doesn't knock out Raticate. I know it looks like I'm being really risky here. Mega Punch is stronger against Kadabra, and then I'm going to go for Dig against Ivysaur. Doesn't quite one-shot. I actually try to go for Mega Punch because it's going to be slightly faster, assuming we don't miss, which we did, but we still win pretty easily. Now, this is a good time to mention that I don't know if you can notice, but I changed the colors slightly in order to make the blue slightly more Blastoise-y, but in watching the footage, it looks virtually indistinguishable from just the standard blue color set from the Game Boy Color. So I'm really glad I spent so much time on that. Anyway, something I'm not going to spend much time on is Lieutenant Surge. Or maybe I will, because potentially Raichu could outspeed in one-shot with Thunderbolt. Alright, so moment of truth. Well, not really. I'm going to use Dig. I don't want to lose to Surge. It's always embarrassing. We one-shot Voltorb. we one-shot Pikachu, and we outspeed Raichu, and we one-shot with the crit. Maybe that mattered? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Thank goodness we have Dig. But this is a good point to mention where Blastoise really has a massive advantage over Squirtle. There is no way Squirtle would have outsped Surge, so I actually would have had to have come back later. And I've mentioned this before, but that actually wastes a ton of time because Surge is the gym badge that allows you to use Fly. So we'd have to walk back from Celadon, which isn't too bad, but it does definitely waste time. So the ability to outspeed Raichu was very, very good, and only Blastoise could have done that, at least in comparison to Squirtle, of course. There is really nothing interesting to talk about until we get to the aforementioned Celadon City, and there's really not much to talk about in Celadon City yet. I'm gonna go battle Giovanni first, and I'm just gonna use Bubble Beam. Onix, of course, is gonna be a 1-hit KO. Rhyhorn is gonna be a 1-hit KO, but Kangaskhan won't be. Kangaskhan, however, we have really good defense, and it went for Guard Spec. So that's it for Giovanni 1. The next thing we're going to do once we get the Silph Scope is we're going to dig out, and then we're going to go shopping. I don't actually need to heal. We'll heal later. What's important to do is we're going to go into the mart, and we need two things here. Sometimes we get a Pokédoll for Mimic. We don't need that. But we always go to the 5th floor and buy vitamins. For Blastoise, we're going to buy calciums. If you battle Giovanni first and no extra trainers, you should have enough for 3. If you battle Erica and some extra trainers, you might have enough for 4, but 3 should be enough. Calciums are obviously the best, not only because we primarily use special attacks, but also they're both offensive and defensive. We're also going to buy 2 fresh waters, another reason we need to go shopping, one to get to Saffron and the other to give to the girl in order to get Ice Beam. I'm not going to teach Ice Beam quite yet, because even though it would help us against Rival 4, I don't think we need it. And I've mentioned this before, if we can delay teaching a TM, it's always worthwhile to do so. Now, obviously, Ice Beam would be advantageous versus Pidgeotto, but I can go for Bubble Beam. It is a 2-hit KO, but that's fine. I use Body Slam on Gyarados. It's a 2-hit KO, but Bite doesn't do very much. I use Dig against Growlithe because I misclicked. That's fine. I use Body Slam against Kadabra, and then I go for Dig against Ivysaur. Still doesn't one-shot, but it goes for Vine Whip, which is not very good, and that's an easy victory versus Rival 4. Thankfully, because we have Dig, the Channelers aren't going to be too big a deal, and now we have to make a decision. Obviously, I mentioned Erica before, but we have a bad matchup, and before we teach Ice Beam, there's no point battling her. So, do we go to Fuchsia, or do we go to Saffron? Well, with Blastoise, the answer is obvious. We need to go to Fuchsia, because we want to teach Surf. Now I'm not really sure where to go. I'm going to try Koga's gym. This Juggler could be problematic. I'm going to use Body Slam. Doesn't quite one-shot Drowsy, and it confuses me. I hit myself in confusion once. Thankfully, I am able to knock out Drowsy. Now, I can go for Withdraw, which is going to help with Headbutt. And thankfully, I'm able to knock out all the remaining Drowsy. But as I battle the second Juggler, I mean, if I beat this guy, I should beat Koga. You might wonder why I use Withdraw. Well, in my Squirtle run, I didn't quite understand how this worked yet, but in this run, we're going to be using, say it with me, the... Well, if you didn't say Badge Boost Glitch, that was just a weird moment of silence, but yes, the Badge Boost Glitch, it's in the description of every video because I'm sick and tired of explaining it, and frankly, a lot of you have watched all the videos and you're sick and tired of hearing it. But it is important, and we are going to kind of use it versus Koga, who I don't know if we can defeat. So I go for Withdraw, and Smokescreen, yeah, we lost. I go for Surf, we get poisoned, we knock out the first Coughing, we miss with Surf, Muck attacks, we then go for Dig and get a critical hit, which is pretty clutch. We level up, and then we get a clutch critical hit against Coughing, and we could actually win this if Wheezing goes for Self-Destruct. Unfortunately, it's not cooperating. We do hit, we don't do half. We're now at 23 HP, and we basically have to rely on Koga using Self-Destruct at the wrong time. Okay, so that was not ideal. I wasn't at full health even, but it was a first try victory. In fact, Blastoise hasn't actually lost a battle yet. Not a single battle. Not one. That's a crazy good winning streak, which will probably end versus Rival 5. because our matchup is okay at best, and I have a couple ideas, but we might need to lose once just to see which one is the better one. Now, because I was poisoned and didn't pick up the full restore by accident, I actually used my fresh water because I don't want Blastoise to faint, but then I had to go back into the Pokemon Mart. I do get to buy 2 more calciums, which is good, but having to go back there wastes time, which is bad. So hopefully it's not very close at the end, because otherwise I'll feel kind of silly for not having the full restore. But maybe Rival Fivel will be a big wall and it won't matter. Let's see. As always, he's leading with Pidgeot. Still haven't taught Ice Beam yet. I go for Withdraw, it goes for Sand Attack. And once it uses a second Sand Attack, I realize this is a mistake. I miss with the first Body Slam, hit with the second, miss with the third, and so I do knock it out with the fourth, but things aren't looking good. Gyarados, thankfully, I'm able to knock out without it dealing too much damage, but the real problem is going to be eventually Venusaur. Venusaur in this battle does know Razor Leaf, and so if I keep missing again and again and again, eventually it's going to knock me out. That said, I was wrong about Razor Leaf, it just needed to use Vine Whip to knock me out, but I have a better strategy without even having to teach Ice Beam that will work pretty well. So I'm going to go for Surf against Pidgeot and knock it out in 2 hits. Now against Gyarados, I can't set up, I'm going to use Body Slam. Unfortunately, it uses 2 Dragon Rages, and after Bite, I'm at 16 HP. I can now set up a bunch of withdraws versus Growlithe, because even if it attacks me, it's only going to do like 5 damage. So we're going to knock out Growlithe, and now we're going to outspeed Alakazam. We level up though, which I didn't notice the last battle. So we're going to need to teach Ice Beam unless Venusaur goes for Leech Seed a couple times. Okay, well thankfully we got exceptional luck, and with only 14 HP remaining after Gyarados, we beat Rival Fivel. So that's 2 consecutive battles where we got a little lucky. Although our winning streak is over, second try victory isn't bad. Now, I probably should have taught Ice Beam. I didn't want to delete Body Slam because once it's gone, we can't get it back. And Body Slam is a much better move versus Gyarados than Ice Beam. However, Ice Beam is going to be much, much better against Venusaur and Pidgeot. So we're going to teach Ice Beam going forward. And right now, we're just going to beat Giovanni number 2. With Surf, it's going to be completely easy. Funny enough, the only Pokemon that isn't a one-shot, it's not Kangaskhan, it was the Nidorino, which is very, very surprising, because we usually think of Kangaskhan as a lot better than Nidorino, but the more you know. Anyway, we now have to make another decision. Well, I'm going to pick up some stuff in Silph Company, but we then have to make a decision. Do we go to Erica? Do we battle Sabrina? Or do we surf to Blaine? Well, I forgot to heal in Saffron, so I dig back to Celadon, and that means I'm in Celadon, and it would be wasting time if I didn't battle Erica. Hopefully Blastoise is ready. We do have Ice Beam. Blastoise should be ready. Alright, so she leads with Victory Bell. We want a one-shot. We one-shot. Alright, it was a crit, but I don't think it matters. I mean, let's see. We one-shot Tangela, and if we one-shot Vileplume, then it didn't matter. Alright, pretty good. So now I could go back to battle Sabrina, but I'm just going to go battle Blaine. We're a water Pokemon. We're at a high enough level that we can use Repel in the Pokemon Mansion and don't have to worry about wild encounters, which is something I think about, because the first time I got a wild encounter when I was at a low level, I was really annoyed. But yeah, I'm not going to be annoyed battling Blaine. This should be pretty easy. Alright, so Blaine leads with Growlithe. We're just going to use Surf and we knock it out. Next is Ponyta. We outspeed and knock it out. We level up. We somehow outspeed and knock out the Pokemon with Rapid in its name. That's pretty cool. And we outspeed and knock out the Pokemon with Canine in its name. Although, we did get a crit there. The crit probably didn't matter. And now, the only gym leader we have left is Sabrina. We also can delete Dig really soon. I want to keep it for Sabrina, just because this is the last gym we can dig out of. In Gen 1, specifically in Red and Blue, you can dig out of certain buildings for some reason. This isn't considered a glitch by the speedrunning community. You can also use escape ropes in some buildings. I'm not really sure if this was an intentional thing or not. It's only certain buildings, I don't know, we do it because it's so hard to tell with this game sometimes. But yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Let's go battle Sabrina. So she leads with Kadabra. I don't have Body Slam, so I have to go for Dig. It does one-shot Kadabra. I level up, so I'm going to try to go for Withdraw to try and up my speed. Mr. Mime goes for Double Slap. It lasts 5 turns. Then it goes for Light Screen, but we don't one-shot with Dig. So I'm going to go for a second Withdraw, and then I go for Surf, knocking out Mr. Mime. I try to knock out Venomoth. Unfortunately, I don't. It goes for Hyper Potion, and thankfully it misses with Stun Spore. I go for Surf against Alakazam. It recovers, and then it goes for Reflect, which is permanent. I now have to rely on getting a crit, which I do, and it goes for Psywave. Otherwise, that could have taken a really long time. So yeah, Earthquake would have been beneficial because it wouldn't have had time to set up Reflect. So we probably didn't save any time not having Earthquake. It would have been faster just to walk out of the gym. I was kind of worried that would happen, to be perfectly honest, but the battle went okay. I mean, it was a first try victory. Still, this is the thing with each run being a first try. You don't really know what's going to work and what you should do. You have an idea, but that's kind of the fun of these. It would be a lot more boring if I did these 5 times before I actually released the video. I wouldn't be making any mistakes, and it'd be like solving a puzzle. To me, it's more cool just to kind of see what weird stuff happens when you don't really know exactly what's going to happen next. I don't know, I find it fun. Speaking of things I find fun, after going back to Fuchsia and getting Strength, something I forget to do but didn't this time. For the record, I didn't have Lapras, which is the Pokemon I used to use Strength, so it actually makes sense to go back to Fuchsia. But what is going to be fun is battling Giovanni. As always, he leads with Rhyhorn. I'm not going to set up anything. I'm just going to go for Surf. That's 1 down. Crit didn't matter. Guard Spec, that's great. Now we won. We're going to one-shot Nidoqueen. We level up. Doesn't matter. We're going to one-shot Nidoking. And we're going to one-shot the double weak Rhydon. So that's pretty cool. Level 46. Blastoise is doing pretty well. And I actually did something really cool where I battled 1 less trainer than I did in my other run. So unlike in Venusaur, we actually should only level up a single time, which is kind of clutch. Because if we do that, we can set up badge boosts after Pidgeot. So I have to knock out Pidgeot with Ice Beam. We actually get a freeze, which doesn't really matter. We knock it out. Next comes out Rhyhorn, and I meant to go for Withdraw. That was a mistake. Now, I just have to knock out Gyarados, and I have to use Ice Beam, which is a 4 KO. So I'm left at 52 HP, and now I just decide to see what would happen if I don't set up Badge Boosts, and what happens is Alakazam outspeeds and one-shots with Psychic. Well, not one-shots, I was at 50 HP, but you know what I'm saying. So anyway, let's play this not silly. This time, Quick Attack, we freeze again somehow, okay? We're at 136. Now we're going to go for Withdraw, Tail Whip, Withdraw, Stomp, Withdraw, Tail Whip, Withdraw, Fury Attack. By the way, each Tail Whip is a badge boost. So I think that's 7 badge boosts. We one-shot Rhydon. We now do over half to Gyarados, so it's going to be a 2-hit KO. We're at 108 HP. We use Surf against Growlithe. Now we have Earthquake. We one-shot Alakazam. I actually think the crit hurt us, but more importantly, we outspeed, we one-shot Venusaur, and we didn't level up, which is what I was talking about. We then beat the even more difficult boss, that famous ledge, and we are going to make it to the Elite Four. Now, I am worried about Gyarados. That's what I'm thinking about. Lorelei shouldn't be too big a deal. Agatha, I'm worried about outspeeding. If we do, we win. So those are the big concerns. Do we outspeed Gengar, and can we one-shot with Earthquake? And what are we going to do versus the Gyarados, especially Lances, that we can't set up against? There's only one way to find out. Let's go. Lorelei, as always, leads with her Dugong. I'm going to go for Withdraw. It goes for Rest, so I go for Surf. And it goes for Growl. Great. So I have to rely on special attacks. I actually probably should have set up more withdraws, but I just start going for Surf. I knock out Dugong. I don't knock out Cloyster in one hit, unsurprisingly, but Spike Cannon does nothing. I then start setting up withdraws versus Slowbro, who starts going for Growl. But once it goes for Amnesia, I realize, hey, in a couple turns, maybe I should attack it or it's going to take a long time. And thankfully, it's a 2-shot. We knock it out. Now, against Jinx, I was worried we wouldn't one-shot, but we do. And against Lapras, it does go for Confuse Ray. Obviously, it's not going to one-shot, but we do a ton of damage. and we knock it out with a second Surf. We didn't hit ourselves in confusion. Pretty good stuff. Now you might be wondering where those levels come from. 11 rare candies you get in the overworld. I always use all of them. People complain, J-Rose, you're too high level. I don't want to guess and check here. If I can get a first try victory, I'm going to get a first try victory. Speaking of which, we're going to destroy Bruno. We only have 5 Surfs left, but that's all we need. We're going to one-shot each and every one of Bruno's Pokemon, I think. Well, now it's just up to Machamp. Which crit mattered? I don't know. We knocked them all out, and now we just have to outspeed Gengar, and that means we can make it to Lance consistently, which is pretty cool. Moment of truth here. Okay, great. Will we one-shot with Ice Beam? Double great. This is great. I can't believe it. We one-shot Haunter. We one-shot Arbok. Let's go. Yo, Blastoise is insane. Man, this is really good, but now I'm worried about Lance. Gyarados will probably be a 4 KO, and it can do a lot of damage. I have an idea of one way to mitigate that, but I don't know if it's necessarily going to work. Let's try. I'm going to go for Withdraw just in case it goes for Hyper Beam, and then I go for a second Withdraw. Ice Beam is doing about a third. Dragon Rage is kind of scary, and unfortunately, we get a retroactive Hyper Potion, and we're all the way back to the beginning. Now, Ice Beam is going to be a 3 KO still. Hyper Beam hits, and that means I'm going to be at 73 HP, but I don't know if I'm going to outspeed Aerodactyl. We do outspeed Dragonair number 1 and knock it out. We do outspeed Dragonair number 2 and knock it out. We level up. So we're not outspeeding Aerodactyl. Goes for Bite. No flinch. Surf one-shots. Do we outspeed Dragonite? Oh, yes, we do. And we've made it to the champion on our very first attempt. This has gone unbelievably well. Like, new record type well. Not Mewtwo, but like for normal Pokemon. I'm stunned how well this has gone. But that just means we're going to lose here. And then it's going to take me a while to get back, and I'm going to be really upset. But, you know, that's how these videos go. You guys have seen enough of them. So let's just go battle the champion. Not sure why I'm going to lose, but we all know it's coming. So let's just make our peace with that, and then we'll try again. Well, I don't think I'm going to lose to Pidgeot. I know I'm going to level up after 3 Pokemon, so I'm going to set up 3 withdraws. Turn 1, it goes for Whirlwind. Turn 2, it goes for Wing Attack. And turn 3, it starts going for Sky Attack. That's fine. I'm going to go for Ice Beam, and I knock it out. Now we should outspeed Alakazam, which we do, and we one-shot with Earthquake. That's 2 down. Rhydon, Surf's going to knock it out, and we're going to level up. And that sucks because now we have no badge boosts. Gyarados is out, but we do at least have a defense boost, which is pretty good. I'm going to go for Withdraw. It goes for Dragon Rage. I then go for Ice Beam. It's doing about a third. Dragon Rage, another 40 HP gone. We get a crit, and it goes for Leer. So we're at 113 HP with 2 badge boosts, heading to Arcanine. I go for Withdraw, it goes for Takedown. I go for Withdraw again, it goes for Takedown. And that's it for withdraws. We've used all the ones we can. We knock out Arcanine with Surf, and now if we knock out Venusaur, we win. No way! Wow! That was incredible! I can't believe, man. So, Venusaur was good. Charizard was worse. Oh my god, 3 hours, 12 minutes, guys. That puts it in the same category as Gengar and Alakazam. Now, I thought long and hard about where exactly to put it in the list. And I decided on 3rd overall, just behind Alakazam. Now, some of you might not be happy. There are arguments to be made for Blastoise being 2nd to Mewtwo, but my gameplay has gotten better, my strategy's gotten better, and I did find Alakazam a little bit more consistent with some of the battles. However, when you win this quickly, it's really hard to judge, and I don't know. Putting Blastoise 2nd makes sense. It isn't bias. Realistically, I think I play the game better now. And so I want to be fair. We knew that was going to happen. This isn't a scientific list. I do think Blastoise being 3rd is more than fair. But there is a really solid argument for 2nd, 100%. And if someone else wanted to put Blastoise there, perfectly fair. Now, that's about it for this video. There's one thing I want to address, I've gotten some criticism on the Squirtle video for not using the badge boost glitch because I didn't fully understand how it worked back then. And people have told me that Squirtle would have been the best if I just would have used withdraw more. The answer in terms of whether that's true or not is it's hard to tell. It would be unfair to do a second try because then we should do every Pokemon second, and then what would happen, and that would take too long. The fact of the matter is, comparing it to Blastoise, its speed and defense aren't good enough for it to have nearly as easy a time. Gyarados would have had a much easier time with a Squirtle, and so I'm not fully convinced it would have been better than Bulbasaur with its ability to put Pokemon to sleep, which is why it was the best of the unevolved starters. But as for the fully evolved starters, Blastoise by a mile, then Venusaur, then Charizard. But there's one more Pokemon I really want to compare them to, a Pokemon that speedrunners have picked over Blastoise, however they use items. But will the king of speedrunning be able to overtake Blastoise like it did in the standard speedrun? There's going to be only one way to find out. It might not be tomorrow, but over this month, we're definitely going to have that answer. And until then, take care, everyone.